Hi yogis, and welcome to practice. It's Suzanne coming to you from my home yoga studio. I have a yin practice for you today, and this one is inspired by spring cleaning. We'll be working a little bit through the inner and outer seams of the body, touching on the liver and gallbladder meridians. We'll also be twisting and compressing the midsection of the body and the side body area. You can think of this compression as a way to wring out, to squish out, to kind of pull out anything that no longer serves us. For props, definitely a blanket if you have one. If you have a block, that would be great too. If you don't have a block, you can always use a small step stool or a large book. But definitely a blanket. We can make do with the blanket. So we will begin as we always do with the breath. Take a moment and sit up nice and tall. If you can, let the eyes close. Take an inhale and let it go. Start to settle into your breath. And as you welcome settling in the body, settling in the heart and in your energy, just imagine that if you had a closet to clean out, and maybe you have a closet of shirts and jeans and whatever. A closet of emotions or a closet of energetic baggage. What would you like to let go of? Once you hone in on something, why don't you welcome that to intention? Just starting with the energy, with the thought of, I am willing to let this go. And when you're ready, let the hands rest beside the body, and on an inhale, reach up, filling up with life, with energy, with love, and bring that into the heart, sealing intention in, preparing for practice. Find a drop of the chin, a blink of the eyes open, and we'll prepare for our first posture. I'm going to shift to the side here. So coming to a seated posture, and if you want that blanket under the hips, might feel nice. Stepping the left foot either in front of the shin or over the knee. Left hip can float. Get nice and tall. And then the left hand either touches down to the body or to the floor. And the right arm reaches up, creating a long spine, and then starts to drape over, finding that little scrunchiness, that compression through the left side. I like to let my arm dangle and hang. You can certainly have a slightly more active reach if you prefer. And be in the breath. Take just a couple more breaths here. And get nice and tall again. And this time, twist over that left knee. I like to hug the knee here, kind of finding a little brace so that I can settle into the twist. The head can turn if you'd like, and maybe even allow the chin to drop slightly. Finding that compression in the twist, that limiting of space through the midsection of the body. I also feel this a bit on this outer hip. The thing about letting go, and you've probably been to a yoga class where you've had a similar intention. And sometimes it feels like you need to do that same class over and over again. Oftentimes when we are preparing ourselves to let go, when we are trying to let go, it happens in phases and stages. If you can imagine whatever it is you're clinging on to, whatever you feel has a hold on you as a puzzle, and the more complex, the more pieces it has. Well, sometimes you can just sort of scoop it up and put the whole thing in the box and send it away. But other times, you have to go piece by piece, meticulously letting it go. And sometimes when you think you've let it all go, it's all out, you find that one last lingering piece that didn't make it into the box. So like many things in life, many things in our yoga practice, that letting go, that releasing is a process. It takes time. Stay in the breath here just a little bit longer in this twist. And when you are ready, start to unwind. We're coming to a posture called square. Fire log is the vinyasa or hatha name for it. Stacking knees and ankles so the shins kind of stack. Feel free to use that blanket or a prop to add support here, or find an easy seat with that left shin forward if that's a better fit for you. Normally I like to have really active ankles in this posture, but as long as you're not straining the outer ankle of that top foot, you're okay. I wouldn't worry too much about it. And then you might stay here or start to shift forward, start to drape forward. So we get a little bit of the inner and outer seams of the legs, but we also start to get some of that compression through the midsection. Going down as far as you see fit. Staying in the breath. And then starting to, if you folded forward, come back up. From here, you'll take the top leg and come into a little pinwheel seat. We're setting up for deer. So here I have the outer seam of the right leg pressing into the earth and a little bit of the inner seam of the left. So outer seam of right, inner seam of left. First things first, right hand touches down either on the thigh or on the floor beside me. And then the left arm this time reaches up and drapes over, similar to what we did in the first posture. You can curl that right side body as much as you see fit, maybe even bending that right elbow. Some of you might be able to get that right elbow to the floor. Take just a couple more breaths here. And then start to come upright, and we'll take this one into a twist as well. Start to turn your heart towards that right knee, and depending on how twisty you feel, you might be able to go a little further. And then walk the hands out away from the body. If you can, add a little extra reach through the left arm. So there's a little bit of yang here. There's a little bit of extra work here, so that you start to create compression in that right side body, but then that openness in the left, so getting that outer seam of the left. And as you fold forward, that twist plus the compression of the midsection to the thigh, you might get a little work there. And then be in the breath. As you're here, since we're reaching away from the body, imagine that that left leg, the trailing leg, can stay just heavy and anchor to the floor. As you're in the breath, you might imagine that each inhale welcomes in new life, new energy, cleansing. And each exhale lets go. Maybe lets go of a little puzzle piece, lets go of a little something there. So the more that you breathe, the more with that intention, the more you can let go. Be in the breath here. Just a few more breaths. Starting to find your way back to upright. And then this left leg that was pinwheeled is going to go out to the side. So we're in a half dragonfly or a little half straddle shape. Again, hips could be on the blanket here if you'd like. Make sure this is happy for the hips. And if you have the space, start to come forward. And at first come forward kind of long. And then find that little coiling in, that little rounding in. So you get the compression through the midsection. So if you've ever tried to clean out a closet, you might have noticed that it is a bit of a gradual process. Normal stages at our house is you pull the things that don't fit or you don't wear anymore and pack them up. And usually they sit in a closet or in the laundry room for a while until they get dropped off at a donation center or a donation pickup is arranged. And so it's like this phased approach. And, it's effective. It works. The stuff eventually gets out of the house. Stay in the breath, stay with that intention. What can you let go of that no longer serves you? I am open to letting go. I talk about acknowledging a lot, whether it, whatever the intention is. It's a really important first step, and sometimes just changing the language, sometimes just acknowledging that it needs to be released gets you on the path of progress. So if it's something big, maybe it's you're letting go of a relationship, or like I said before, past hurts. They have a way of clinging and hanging on longer than they should. Being willing to let go of it, being willing to release and give that space to something else. It's an important first step. Just a few more breaths here. And then start to find your way back to upright. Bringing the feet together and the knees wide. So into this butterfly shape. And if it's within reach, holding on to ankles or shins and taking a moment to arch the back, open the heart, find a counter to that twisting, that midsection compression. You might even get I get a little inner seam of the legs here, a little outer seam of the upper body as well. Take an inhale, and as you exhale, begin to release. And we'll start to find this series on the second side. So starting in that seated position, but this time that right foot is forward over the shin or over the knee. The right hip might float. That is okay. Right hand rests down on the body or on the floor. And this time that left arm reaches up and over, taking the side bend. Finding that compression, that coiling through the right side. And as we're setting a new side and coming back to breath, coming back to intention, I am willing to let go. Taking a couple breaths more here. And then coming upright and beginning to set up into the twist. So taking that long spine, finding rotation, I'll hook and sort of brace that elbow on the leg, opening the heart. Maybe let the chin drop slightly. So one of the challenges we often find, or I often find, when letting go is the misperception that whatever it is holding me. Whatever it is, the relationship, the hurt, the item in the closet, it has a hold on me. It has the control over me. So sometimes that first step is realizing that is not the case, and it's really me doing the clenching, the holding on, the grasping. And sometimes we hold on due to habit. Sometimes we hold on because we've been committed to it for so long, we don't know any other options. But it takes energy. It takes precious resource to maintain that. And wouldn't it be worth considering allowing those resources to be devoted to something that does serve you, something that is worthy of your time and energy? And sometimes it doesn't even have to be a thing per se. You can let go and just give space. You can let go and have openness, contentment, peace. And I would dare say that all of those are worth your energy. When you're ready, start to unwind. We'll come into that square shape, supporting with the blanket if you'd like. Finding your way into this posture. Remember, easy seat with the right shin forward is certainly available. Starting to come forward, but adding that little bit of roundness. But more than roundness, that little bit of coil through the midsection. Being in the breath, welcoming in energy, life, cleansing, letting go with each exhale. Just a few more breaths here. And then start to come out of this posture, this shape. The top leg's going to come off to the side, finding this pinwheel shape. And this is where that outer seam of the left leg now is pressing into the mat, and the inner seam of the right is doing the same, or at least part of it. Get as tall as you can. That right hip is probably floating left hand to the body or to the floor, and then reach the right arm up and over. Start to find that coil through the left side body, the open through the right. Be in the breath, be in intention. Just a few more breaths here. And then start to come upright. And then we'll find that twisted deer shape, taking a twist over that left leg. And then just as far as you feel the body wants to go. So if you're not feeling twisty today, you might go more on the diagonal. Starting to walk the hands out, coming into this bow, this fold. And when you sort of get where you are, where you set, maybe reaching that right arm just a little bit more. And some of you might have your whole chest to the floor here. For me today, this is enough. Take a moment and let that right leg, that trailing leg, be an anchor. Let it be heavy, almost like dead weight. And invite that coiling through the left side body, the opening, the reaching through the right. And then be in the breath. Welcoming in life and energy. Releasing and letting go with each exhale. In general, in yoga, twisting is thought to be somewhat cleansing. It tends to stimulate the organs, almost wringing them out. It can also stimulate the digestive tract. Be in the breath here, be in intention. Starting to find your way back up towards center. And then the right leg goes out to the side, coming to this half straddle shape, this half butterfly shape. Use that block under the blanket if you'd like. Excuse me, the block under the blanket. The blanket under the hips if you'd like. Certainly the block under the knee if you'd like. And then if you have the space, start to shift forward, find that little bit of length, and then add the coiling in. And how far you go is totally a personal choice. It might be more of a shift forward with just a little coil through the midsection. Maybe you're going more prone. with that little, and then adding the little coil at the end. Finding the shape, the intensity that works for you. We're all so different. We all practice and experience in different ways. So your cleaning out, your process of letting go is going to look different than somebody else's, and that's okay. What you cling to, what you hold on to is going to be different than somebody else, and that's just you. That's just how you work. Just a few more breaths here. And then finding your way back through to upright. We'll bring the feet together, knees wide again for that butterfly shape. Hands to the ankles or shins. Drop the shoulders, a little lift of the heart, a little arch of the back if it feels good. Take an inhale, and as you exhale, find a little release. We're going to come forward towards either all fours. You might even like a down dog at this point. Just a moment to stretch out, to move the body. All fours with a little cat-cow with a sway of the hips. Maybe a down dog with a pedal of the legs. The legs have been, in a bent shape for a lot of the practice, so stretching them out might feel good for a moment. And sometime in the next couple breaths, we'll find our way to be prone on the front of our bodies. Setting up into a Sphinx posture. So the placement of the hands isn't terribly important, but use those elbows to prop the chest. Let the legs and hips be soft as you open the heart into Sphinx. Now here in this, where our front side is down towards the mat, you can notice as you breathe that little massage through the midsection. So the breath, the body, the earth sort of working together. And as you breathe in and out, the midsection gets that little massage. You can imagine those organs who have, so far been a little squeezed and squished. You get a little love, a little space to soften here. Take just a few more breaths here. And then shifting to the right side, step the left foot forward. So I like to call this a funky Vishnu, and I'll explain that in a moment. So propping up on the forearm, and feel free to have a blanket under the forearm if you'd like. We're looking to sort of hammock the right side body to the floor. The leg up provides a couple things, a little bit of balance, but also creates a little extra compression through the left side body. So you can always walk that foot away if you need it. Left hand can dangle on the mat, or sometimes it just feels good to brace against that left ankle just to hold things in place. Now, Vishnu is of Hindu lore, is of yoga lore, and he is one of the main three deities. His role is as preserver, so many of his stories, if not all of his stories, are about him helping man save himself from himself, basically. So Vishnu is like that good friend that says, you know, you don't need to be wearing low-rise jeans anymore, or that relationship isn't the right one for you, or why are you being such a jerk about this? They help to keep you on track. That's the energy of Vishnu. So in Hatha Yoga or in Vinyasa Yoga, there is a posture called Vishnu's couch, where you come down on the side body and you extend the top leg to the sky, holding it with the big toe. So this yin posture, this loungy posture, this more released posture kind of harkens to that in my mind. And so that's why I call this one Funky Vishnus. So as you're here, let that right side body just hammock and open. You might notice the pressure, it's gentle, but the pressure on the right hip, on the outer seam of that right leg. Notice the compression through the left side body. And then whatever subtle inner and outer seam of the left leg you have going on. We're here for just a few more breaths. So we're going to unwind back to that Sphinx posture, back to prone. If you want a little moment in between, come down, stacking the hands, resting the head, if you would like a little more neutral. Or come straight back to that Sphinx posture in the middle. Hands in whichever configuration you prefer. Allow the body to calibrate back to center. So coming back to that thought of preservation, that energy of Vishnu, that energy of a good friend. Letting go is an important part of preserving our energy, preserving ourselves. There's only so much energy, there's only so much space. And so we have to clean out from time to time. We have to let go. In a perfect world, it's in its cycle. Sometimes we need to work through it. Which is why times of spring cleaning, times of personal assessment can be important. It's a great thing if you take the time in meditation, if you take the time in yoga practice. Those, periods of self-assessment, of personal assessment can be really helpful, can be very preserving. So we'll find that Funky Vishnus on the second side, shifting to the left side. And then stepping the right foot in front. Finding that drape, that hammock of the left side body, the gentle pressure through the outer seam of the left side body. Letting that right hand drape or just bracing against the right ankle. And breathing. As you breathe, again, welcoming in new life and energy. And then letting go with each exhale. There's so much wisdom in the breath, which is why we rely on it so strongly in our practice. As you're here, maybe thinking about that intention, what you're willing to let go. How does that preserve you? How does that serve you? Taking a few more breaths here. And then starting to unwind back to that Sphinx posture. Take a moment upright, just calibrate to center. And then release, stacking the hands, resting the head, certainly adding movement through the hips if you like. And sometime in the next 5 breaths or so, we'll start to transition to a reclined position. So take your time. Certainly, if you want to pass through a cat-cow shape or that down dog shape, you're more than welcome to. But eventually coming onto your seat and then onto your back. Take a moment and check in with breath and intention as we change our relationship with gravity here, our relationship on the mat. When you are ready, hug the knees into the chest. Allow that tail to curl up a little bit. And the left thigh is going to cross over the right. Now, if this doesn't work, a number 4 would be a lovely alternative. But invite that left thigh over the right and then hold on to shins, ankles, feet, wherever you can hold for this reclined shoelace. So there's work in the hold of the legs, but then let the rest of the work come from gravity, from settling. Notice where you feel this shape on the inner and outer seams. Maybe that gentle compression through the midsection. And then let the breath guide you through that sensation, maybe a little deeper into it. Welcoming in life and energy. Releasing what does not serve you with each exhale. Even if it's just a little bit. Every little bit counts. Take a few more breaths here. And then moving into a twist, you can let go of the legs. The top leg is going to come across the body. I'm going to shift a little to that right hip, bringing that knee across. Make sure the foot touches either down on the bottom leg, the floor. Great place to use the block. Find this knee guiding you into a heavy twist. Notice the outer seam of the bottom leg pushing down on the floor. The outer seam of the right side body as well. But then the inner seam of that top leg, for me that left leg, reaching towards the floor. Like eventually they could be connected. And as you are in the breath here, as you're in this pose, just invite any extra release, any extra letting go that you can. And it might not be physically perceptible, but energetically that heaviness, that release, you'll be able to notice, even if it's just a little bit. Keep breathing, stay focused on that intention of letting go, of cleaning out. Now, certainly spring cleaning is a good prompter. You need that reminder every so often. But it's not only reserved for spring. Use it as you see fit. Couple more breaths here. Start to unwind back to that center shape. If it feels good, take a moment. You can knock the knees, or stretching the body long might be suitable. And then hugging the knees into the chest, finding that shoelace posture on the second side. So right leg is going to cross over left, stacking those thighs. Number 4 would be, or a reclined sleeping swan would be a nice alternative. Hands connect to the body, typically opposite hand, opposite leg. And then settle in. Finding this last bit of compression through the midsection, squeezing out whatever else is left that you can let go of today. Welcoming in life and energy with the inhale. Releasing, letting go with the exhale. Keep the breath flowing. Stay connected to your intention. A few more breaths here. And then start to move into the twist. That top leg comes across the body, supporting with the props if you'd like. I'm going to shift a little to that left seam of the upper body. And then opening up into the twist. Again, this is our last little compression through the midsection, twist through the midsection. The last ring out. What else can you release here? Imagining that the inner seam of that top leg is being called home to the earth, to ground to the earth. Getting just a little more released, a little heavier in this twist. Each inhale bringing in new life, new energy. Each exhale letting go. Take just a few more breaths here. Start to unwind back to that center shape. Taking a moment to windshield wiper the knees, or that full body stretch might be calling your name. One last posture. Take a moment and step the feet to the mat. If you have a block, we'll use the block. If you have a blanket, you'll fold the blanket up so it's nice and compact and you can get, as much height out of it as you want. And then lift through the hips, taking that support under the hips. And I would encourage you, if you're using the block, to stay somewhat, low and in control here, not your highest expression. Be in this space, this shape for a moment. And then if it serves you, start to walk the feet and the arms away, opening up this shape, opening up the front of the body. Taking these last few moments of class to just experience this openness. We've spent a lot of time compressing and squeezing and twisting, wringing out. Take a moment and experience this empty, this open shape. Maybe start to notice either physically or energetically the space that's been created. There's something very calming, very centering about open space. If you've ever been to the mountains, or if you get to a walking trail and there's a big open field, there's just a certain peace, a certain calm when there's an expanse. So quietly absorb that, quietly celebrate that here. And invite, the metaphor of the space in your body, to translate to your heart, to your energy, to your emotions. stay in this openness for just a few more breaths if you can. And then start to walk the feet in. Start to bring the arms back in, settling into that starting shape. Eventually lifting the hips and removing the support, coming back down to the mat, maybe knocking or letting those knees be heavy towards one another. Slowly start to swing those knees or slide those knees from side to side as you start to move the feet away from the body. Heading towards the Shavasana shape that's your favorite. Now certainly if you enjoyed being prone, you might flip over and take Shavasana face down, or finding your way to a more traditional shape. Whatever it is, use the props, use what you have to get as settled and as comfortable as you can. If you're reclined, invite the legs to gently open up and maybe soften the knees to allow that, exposing that inner seam. And then turn the arms up, exposing the inner seam of the arms. Nice and open through the front of the body, especially through the midsection. And then begin to settle in for Shavasana. If you'd like, take an inhale and let it go. So I will invite you to take a few minutes, maybe set a timer for 5 or 10 minutes to take a proper Shavasana. Just spend some time being in this space, being in this openness. Maybe find a few moments of contentment. Thank you so much for your practice, for joining me here virtually on the mat. It is my privilege to be here with you. Have a lovely, lovely rest of your day. Namaste.